Welcome to the CONNECT Collaborator Interview Series, where we host 10-minute conversations with healthcare professionals, stakeholders, and partners with the goal of encouraging deeper collaboration in the healthcare industry. Today's guest is Cathy Ammendolea. Cathy is the chair of the board of directors for the Canadian Breast Cancer Network. She is a person with lived experience and oversees the leadership and operations of the organization. In her role as chair, Cathy ensures that the patient perspective is used to inform breast cancer decision-making in Canada. She regularly consults on industry, government, and organizational initiatives in Canada to promote the patient voice and champion the best interests of persons living with breast cancer. Cathy, welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's get started with you telling me a bit about your role at CBCN and the type of collaboration projects you're involved in.
So I am the chair of the board at CBCN. And as you have mentioned, I have lived experience of having had breast cancer. We are the Canadian Breast Cancer Network, and our board members are across the country. And each board member has also had breast cancer diagnosis over their time. So my experience comes as the face of the board and also as a person with a perspective of having had the lived experience well past a couple of decades. I was diagnosed as a young woman, and I've seen a lot of changes and a lot of good that has come out since my early days of being diagnosed. I'm very passionate about CBCN. I work closely with the staff. The staff also follows our philosophy, and we're very grateful that we have a staff that understands breast cancer and is very much engaged into following our pillars in terms of advocacy, education, and ensuring that all patients across the country get what they need as best as we can follow through and follow up on it. And it's also very nice to collaborate with stakeholders such as yourself with this project on the HER2 and all other various projects that we do in our organization.
I think you alluded to it a little bit, but maybe you can expand on why it's so important to have someone with lived experience collaborating on the development and implementation of these types of tools and resources.
As yourself perhaps and others might understand, in the early days, any research and anything that had to do with treatments, etc., and how they were put together did not involve the patient's voice and the perspective of the patient. And over time, what has happened is that pharmaceutical companies and other entities have realized that around the table, the missing link was the voice of the patient that has lived through the experience. In the early days, it was very uncomfortable to see how decisions were made. And when I understood what decisions had been taken, I realized that there was so much more that they could have added or not put in some documents that were created or anything that was created without the voice of the patient. I'm happy to say and to share that that perspective is now honored and is very much part of many things that are happening in the world of breast cancer. Patients have a deep understanding of the everyday issues that a person has encountered, will encounter through their path of having had a diagnosis of breast cancer. We understand the financial burdens. We understand what families go through. We understand the psychological impact that comes with a diagnosis of breast cancer. And not to mention, we also want to ensure that any digital tools that we designed has an impact across the country. We want to make sure that what we developed at CBCN and we develop with the partnerships of stakeholders such as, pharmaceutical companies such as yourself, is just to ensure that it gets through to patients across the country, because we do have a country with gaps. We all understand that there are gaps.
And I think one of the things that we saw was the value that the collaboration with CBCN and having your role as part of the authorship of the counseling tool. But maybe just speaking to counseling tools in general in this shift, why do you think these collaborations are so important moving forward?
So it's being able to provide input on tools that allow patients the opportunity to contribute to the decisions being made about their treatment plan, and that's invaluable, to provide patients and empower them with such tools in order for them to have a quality conversation with their physician, sit and discuss the options, and be informed of what options are available and how can they get those options, and be sure that the options that they've chosen are right for them. So empowering the patient with these tools is probably the best thing that can happen for newly diagnosed patients and their families, because sometimes it's not the patients that will be discussing these. It will be a partner or somebody that will be going with the patient to have these conversations with their physician. So it is a very powerful tool to have this for patients as we move forward.
As we look forward, what do you think the future of healthcare collaborations look like to you?
So as I have said, there has been a meaningful shift over the years in allowing the patient voice to be more involved. And I'm very grateful that I have been involved. And my involvement has taken me global initiatives where I interact with other countries and individuals like myself who have had a breast cancer diagnosis, and to understand the limitations that others face and what we could do better by learning what they have that we may gain for our population. But I'm happy to say that the involvement came a little bit later than what we wanted it to be, but it's very nice to see that this step has now been in a big part of how things are done, and that we will be moving forward with the patient's voice forever. I don't see it going backwards anytime soon.
We agree. And finally, maybe we can let everyone know the best place to connect with you.
So you can connect me through the website at cbcn.ca. You can email me at cbcn@cbcn.ca, Instagram at CBCN Network, Facebook at the CBCN, and X, or Twitter as we used to know it, at CBCN. So there, if you call the office, there's also, if you look on the website and you see our network, you will be able to connect with me. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Cathy. And we thank you for joining us today and look forward to following you on your journey on social media.
Thank you very much for having me.